welcome along to this exciting event that we are holding for season 2 of A Comedy of Gamers here at 128k Studios. We have an exciting lineup of things for you tonight. We have panels with the cast and crew of the show and an exclusive first look at episode 1 of season 2. So we are going to have our cast introduced. Now, if we could get some people in here, I'd like to say hello to everybody. Who do we have first? Orla, hello.
Hi. Sorry.
Thank you so much
blazing
for
sun
joining
coming
us.
in the window at me.
I am happy to see the blazing sunshine right now. It has been too dark here in the UK for too long, so I welcome it. We'll call it a special effect. You know, we'll fix it in post. So welcome in. Orla, could you tell us a little bit about Cindy and your role in A Comedy of Gamers?
Yeah, so Cindy is like the AI that's in charge of the gamers. She's giving them instructions, challenges, and she's ultimately sort of training them to be the best that they can possibly be. So she's got a very dry wit, and she really pushes them to go beyond probably what they're capable of doing. So yeah, she's a lot of fun.
Definitely. Do you think that Cindy has any plans to secretly take over the world based on the performances of the humans so far in the series?
Yeah, I think Cindy is putting together her own little Skynet at the moment. She's like ready and willing to take over the entire planet. She's like the next Terminator, in fact.
Right, okay, so be warned if you leave any particularly bad reviews for Cindy in this show, you may find your Alexa has decided to, I don't know, burn down your house or something. It's
yeah, or if you see this giant sun coming in your window, you know I'm lurking.
Yeah, that's you. You are the sunshine. You bring the sunshine. Amazing. Right, well, now we know that our first person is going to take over the world. Amber, hopefully not hoping to take over the world in quite the same way. Can you tell us a little bit about Georgia and her character in the show?
Yeah, so I play Georgia, and she's really fun. She's really feisty, and she's Andy's daughter. And her dad is kind of her best friend, which I really like. And I feel like I connected with that a lot because I love my dad in real life. And I saw a lot of similarities between Andy and my dad. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. And it's really interesting in season 2 because she's kind of trying to find this balance between the fact that her dad is like so dependent on her to do everything because he's a little bit incapable. But she also wants her own life. You know, she wants to be independent. She wants to go to university and have fun. So it's really interesting to see how she kind of gets on.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see how your dad reacts to your answer there as well, and whether or not he takes that as a compliment.
I knew he was it was a compliment.
So, world possibly being taken over, and we may have destroyed a beautiful father-daughter relationship so far. John, welcome along. Can you tell us a bit about Andy? And how do you feel knowing you've been compared to a real-life father?
Oh, I'm very flattered. Andy is the man-child of the series, the real Homer, if you will. I mean, all series like this need a bit of cringe humor, I think, and yeah, like the Dr. Statham. I couldn't possibly compare myself to Dr. Statham of Green Wing, but it's something I can only aspire to, and so yes. And again, thank you, Amber. I'm glad that I managed to live up to someone's expectations of a father-daughter relationship.
Oh no, it's got deep all of a sudden. It's like I wasn't expecting a sitcom panel to immediately go straight for the heart like that.
Oh yes.
So, did you feel that you were bringing any of your own kind of like dad humor from real life experiences as growing up as a child?
Dad humor. Yes, dad humor, and hopefully not too much of my father ability. You know, as Andy. I mean, you'll obviously know why when we actually do the viewing. But but the humor, hopefully, I do love a bit of dumb humor.
Definitely, you can't go wrong. It's timeless. Dad jokes have been around for generations for a reason. Do we have Duncan as well?
Hello.
Hello. Welcome along. It is lovely to see you. Could you tell us a little bit about Tony? Is he someone that you could relate to?
Well, Tony's actually someone that I can relate to quite a lot, actually, because we have similarities. We love playing football. We love playing video games. I think that's the character how he is, and but at the same time he's always very confident. He's very cocky as well. I think sometimes he thinks he's better than than he really is, which is funny because he has a great relationship with Edmund, and then these two characters really bounce off each other, which is his roommate, and they have a love and hate relationship, which is great, and I love that.
Yeah, have you ever had any roommate love-hate relationships like that?
Oh yeah, all the time. But ultimately, I think we're really good friends. But we scream and shout at each other all the time. But end of the day, we love each other, and I think that's what Tony and Edmund is like.
And speaking of, welcome in, Jack. It is lovely to see you. Could you tell us a little bit about your character and his role within the series?
Hi, yeah. So I play Edmund. He is the pretentious snob of the group that loves to think that he's better than everybody else. So I think that's the best way to describe him. Everyone else is saying that they can see them within the group. I'd like to say that I hope I don't convey Edmund too much. So yeah.
Yeah, I won't ask you if you particularly relate to Edmund because he's a love to hate kind of character, absolutely. But have there been Edmunds sort of around you in your life that maybe you drew memories from them?
I think there's definitely people that I've met in my life that have definitely allowed me to convey what the character, who the character is. I'm not going to name names, obviously, because that's not fair. But yeah, there's definitely been moments and interactions that I've had where I've definitely met people that think that they can run the shop when really they should maybe just listen a bit more, which I think Edmund does start to learn as he goes through the series. So.
Yeah, it's always good to see that a character like that isn't just there to be the butt of some jokes. Like, all the characters have room for development and to evolve their relationships, which I think is a much sort of healthier way to look at characters like that. And you don't feel like you want to stab them at the end of a series as well, which I'm assuming you're quite happy with people potentially not wanting to kick your character out by the end of it, Jack.
Yeah, exactly. It's nice to see that he's grown and learned from some of his mistakes rather than constantly berating everyone.
Yeah, all of the characters have very different life experiences. They've grown up in very different environments. Some of them, with just your regular metal spoons rather than the silver spoons in their mouth, or perhaps entire cutlery drawers, as I think Edmund perhaps got. I'd be interested to know, did you all grow up playing games? Like, what was your first interaction with computer games that drew you towards this? I'll start with Orla and work my way around.
Yeah, I played Sonic the Hedgehog, Sega Mega Drive, and that was really the only thing, because I grew up in the 80s and we were poor. We had no money. So it was either that or play on the street. So that was the only game, or Game Boy. Yeah, I was big into Game Boy.
I like it. Sonic or be kicked out onto the street. But I mean, if you're going to have only one franchise that you really got to play a lot of in the 80s, then I mean, Sonic on the Master System or the Mega Drive is definitely a very good place to start. So that kind of cemented your love of gaming as a kid then.
Yeah, absolutely. I really, for hours on end played that. Yeah, I'm one of 5 kids, so we fought endlessly over the console. I think we probably spent more time fighting over who gets to play than actually playing.
It's funny how that works out, really. And now your character is an AI that's dealing with a bunch of other characters who are sometimes fighting like children over the controllers. So this must bring back a lot of memories.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Amber, how about you? Were you an avid gamer growing up?
Yeah, I definitely was growing up, and I still am now. I bought a PS5 recently, and I am spending way too much time on it. I think I've compromised my sleep with gaming, but you know what? Whatever makes you happy. Yeah, I'd say when I was younger, I was like super obsessed. I went through phases. So my first phase was Pokemon. So I had like Pokemon Yellow on my Game Boy Color was like my favorite thing in the world. I remember playing it before school, after school, sometimes during school if I could get away with it. And then I became like in love with The Sims. So those are like the two games that I think really defined my childhood, like Pokemon on the Game Boy Color and then The Sims on my PC. Those are like the two big ones for me.
Yeah, and both like huge franchises that would have taken up. I mean, the Sims is just a ridiculous time vampire. I've looked at it and just gone, the same as World of Warcraft. If I start playing that, I don't think I would have a university degree if I'd gone into WoW or The Sims. So props to you for managing to sort of balance that. So you're still playing games now, and that's something you could draw on for your character.
Definitely.
Have you ever worked in or been around a computer game shop?
So no, I haven't really. I think my first time being in that kind of environment was shooting for the show, which was really nice. I used to love going to like Blockbuster when I was younger, and that's kind of the idea that I had in my mind, like that, but with like VHSs and like retro games. But since we filmed, I'm really intrigued now. Like I want to find some old school like video game stores and just spend the day there because I think it'd be so much fun.
Yeah, I think slightly less chaotic, one would hope, than the experiences you guys have in the show. But to be honest, having worked in one, not as far off as you'd think.
Really? Ooh, I'm intrigued.
Yeah, absolutely. It is. It's an interesting work environment filled with people who are often too passionate about the games to sell them, which is something that John's character Andy has to deal with. Were you very precious about your games? Did you collect them growing up?
Oh, it's this behaviour of a game store sounds like something I very much approve of. I much like Andy, I was a bit obsessed with, am still a bit obsessed with retro games. My big obsession amongst them was probably Final Fantasy, starting from the very early ones, and then right through all the sort of Super Nintendo types, and right through to when it was on PlayStation, and then I mean I sort of graduated out of that, but back when Octopath Traveler came out as a retro game just this year, and you know, and a couple of years ago too, it's like all my dreams came true. It feels like it once was, again, and I love it.
Yeah, we're seeing a huge resurgence in sort of games getting sequels, remasters. Like the love for those games is still there. So if you were to open your own retro game shop, would you basically start to turn into Andy, you reckon?
I would. I mean, Mad Andy's it would be, and you know, Rad Andy's. I mean, I hope the name is not actually copyrighted. So because it would be very much like that indeed.
We'll find out, and if it is, we'll just throw some retro games at them until they give you the name that you clearly deserve for your future imaginary shop.
Yeah, awesome.
Duncan, were you a massive gamer growing up? You're still, I'm assuming, playing some games if you're a big fan of sort of footy and things.
Yeah, I was a massive gamer. Basically, when I was like 6, my dad gave me the really old Game Boy, the first generation, and then I started playing on that, and then I just got hooked. I wanted all the new. I got all the Game Boy Color, Game Boy Advance, and then Pokemon was like my thing. It was like played it after school, before school, and during school as well.
Yeah,
and then as I got older,
watching this are like, I knew it.
And then as I got older, football was like the only game really I play nowadays. FIFA. I was a really big FIFA fan, and during lockdown, I was just playing that non-stop. Actually, yeah.
So that's where you got some of the mad skills you showed during season 1 then, clearly.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I tried my best, but hopefully they were okay.
Yeah. Did you ever suffer from the sort of overconfidence kind of angle that Tony sometimes has?
Oh, yeah. In FIFA, there's like a competitive league every weekend, and I always thought that, you know, I was going to, you know, get the highest ranking, and then other players just destroy me every weekend, but I go again every weekend. So yeah, practice makes perfect.
Perseverance, that's always the way. Yeah, I was definitely one to play games with my friends at LAN parties. I'm aging myself here. At LAN parties, playing a bit of Quake 3 Arena, and then you'd suddenly play people online and be like, oh dear, I'm not as good as I thought I was. It's just that I've memorized the exact routes and tactics that my friends use, which only works when there's 5 of you, so I can totally get that. Jack, how about yourself? Did you grow up as an avid gamer? Did you have all the
I-
consoles?
I did, yeah. So I started on PlayStation 1, and I grew up in like the middle of nowhere. So the gaming was my best friend. I was very much like a little nerdy kid, and I'd even like shout down the stairs and be like, "Oh, I beat this boss" to my parents because I'd be so excited. So yeah, I like played Crash Bandicoot, and then it would just gradually go. I think I always went on from there. I loved single player narratives, Final Fantasy. Like I always loved a good story in a game, and I feel like it's such an amazing narrative because you really do feel the struggle sometimes of playing that character, especially when you're grinding for like hours on like one part of a game, and you finally get through it. You're just like, it's so like, yeah, so rewarding. And then as I've gotten older, I still do play, not so much recently, but just because I was getting a bit too like consumed by it, I guess is the right way of saying it. But yeah, I've played FIFA, I've played Last of Us. Just yeah, I guess I'm quite excited. I need to get my hands on the new God of War, but that's when I've got some spare time.
Yeah, there's some epic games and some wonderful storylines and narratives that you can get into through gaming. And it's wonderful to see that all of you have had this passion for gaming that you could bring to your characters within the show. I've got a couple of specific questions for all of you as well. We're going to start off with Orla. We're going to ask, your character is an AI that's trying to make people better. Is AI going to make people redundant, presumably after giving up on them from seeing how good they are at gaming?
Oh, I kind of, I kind of feel like AI has made a lot of people redundant in a lot of jobs already. And I actually feel quite sad sometimes when I look at like all those tills in the supermarket that are empty and everybody's going down to computers to put their shopping through, and all those jobs are lost. And even in my daytime job as an accountant, like the jobs where you would have had like financial assistants and stuff like that have all just been replaced by technology that can now do those jobs instead. So yeah, to a huge extent it has, but you know, it'll never replace the creativity that we have. You may be smarter and faster, but you're not as creative. Until they get a handle on that, then we're really screwed.
Yeah, it is interesting to see how AI and things are evolving very much so, very rapidly at the moment as well, and where they will be hugely beneficial to people and can take tasks that people don't want to do, and where they can supplement abilities and help those with tasks they are unable to do, in the same way as I'm very grateful for the existence of the calculator.
Yeah.
And things like that. And yeah, how that is going to evolve, if we're going to end up in a sort of paradise where everyone just works if they feel like it in Star Trek, or if we are going towards a Terminator. So yeah, we've gone back into those deep topics again, sorry. So I shall segue immediately away from the end of the world again, and I shall ask Amber, you've worked on a number of horror projects recently. How is comedy different to horror for performing, and what things do they have in common?
Yeah, so I think there's actually quite a lot in common, because I feel like comedy and horror, in a sense, when you're acting, everything's kind of heightened. So for comedy, a lot of things are either over exaggerated or, like I said, heightened, like for comedic purposes. And similarly in horror, everything's like heightened for the jump scares and the emotion, and everything is kind of like pushed as far as it can go on the scale. So I find a lot of similarities, and I feel like most of the acting work that I've done is either horror or comedy. So maybe that's why I love both, because they do have a lot of similarities. Obviously, there are a lot of differences. Comedy is so much safer. Like, I never go home and have nightmares after shooting a horror, like a comedy, sorry, but after shooting some horrors, I've had some like weird dreams. But no, I love both equally. I think I've probably been doing comedy a lot longer, but over the last few years, I've just kind of fallen into doing loads of like indie horror films, and I'm loving it.
Yeah, I'm quite fascinated to hear that, but as you've explained it, that is kind of making sense. It's just one's kind of overacting for laughs, and one's sort of very dramatic acting for screams, I guess.
Exactly. And I think this is why like horror comedies work so well, because the two genres, in my opinion, do merge like perfectly.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Yeah, there are some amazing horror comedies out there. I'm a big fan of the sort of comedy versions of Evil Dead that are out there, and things like that. So, moving on to John, do you have any obsessions that match Andy's commitment to gaming?
Well, I mean, apart from retro gaming itself, I would say I have probably befitting of Andy's almost adult ADHD. I've had portfolio obsessions throughout my life. I mean, it's gone from, well, let me see, from gaming when I was younger to, I mean, I collected Rupert annuals. I was obsessed with Garfield for way too long. I mean, this is going back quite some time.
Yeah, there's a lot of people who get very hooked on Garfield. I've noticed that it's a very collectible character.
I thought I was so original too. I also got, and then more recently, obsessed with pickling for a while. Kimchi and that kind of stuff, and Korean food. And I mean, I've always for quite some time, maybe I have to say it, I am sort of obsessed with the law, given that it is my day job.
It's probably good that you have a keen interest in it in that case. I wasn't expecting pickling to be in that list. I always try and guess what people are going to say, and pickling was not what I expected to follow. Garfield? Is this what happened to Garfield after you fell out of luck? Was it does it blend type moment?
It's a slippery slope.
There we go. Future upcoming content, pickled Garfields, possibly. So, Duncan, I'll try and not make this one so weird, I promise. How competitive are you, and do you think you could beat your character, Tony, at gaming or football?
Oh, because in real life I'm pretty competitive, and which is why we're similar, me and Tony. And I'm gonna have to back myself. I would have to say I will beat him both in football and in gaming. You just gotta trust yourself.
I like it.
But
straight in with the
Tony
confidence.
is younger than me, so maybe he has an edge on like speed and stuff.
But you've got the experience. You've got the.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I'm relying on experience in terms of the football side, but gaming, I think I will beat him.
Yeah, very, very, very definitive. I like the way you're just like, yeah, he's going down, even though he is me.
Yeah, I don't think Tony will agree though, so I think we will have to sit down and actually compete to find the real answer.
Okay, so we need some kind of head-to-head of you versus you?
Yeah.
Have we got completely meta? Okay.
Maybe. I think maybe Cindy will help me with that.
Yeah, maybe that will be Tony's edge, is that Tony has Cindy and the power of AI on his side. So yeah, I've continued to make this weird. I do apologise. So, Jack, let's make this question completely and utterly normal and not remotely weird. Who is your favourite aristocrat, and why is your character Edmund better than him?
Oh God, I don't know. I think maybe I actually quite like the king at the minute. I think he's always had like quite a green finger, and that's something that I'm quite passionate about as well. So I think that's something that I maybe would say. And I would say Edmund would be better than him because he'd be prepared with a pen. He'd have a My Little Pony pen, and he wouldn't lose his rag like King Charles did.
I see. My Little Pony was an interesting collector's theme to kind of make your character a brony. It's not something I would have assumed to be of someone who's as silver spoon kind of upper class as Edmund. Was that like a character choice that you found really easy to jump into?
Yeah, I kind of felt like, I think the way that I felt like it was the best way to convey it was treating it as like a little secret. Like everyone has their own little thing that they don't tell everyone, but they're still obsessed with, and you still want to. It makes you happy at the end of the day. So I think that's sort of the brony in him was just sort of, you know what, and as you see him just grow with it and just be like, you know what, I don't care. I think that's something that's sort of quite exciting and interesting to watch, about just someone sort of allowing their true self, whatever that is, to come out.
Yeah, that's really, really cool. And I think as well, it's this nice mix of, here's a lovely thing that's not just a stereotype in the way you would expect either a geeky person to be, or a brony to be, or a My Little Pony fan to be in general. but also he manages to make it still seem quite elitist.
Exactly. Exactly. And if anyone has a talent, that's Edmund, definitely.
Yes, you have to make sure it is indeed the rare limited edition version of Princess Sparkle in her unicorn form, etc., etc., for it to count, no doubt.
It's the only way. It's the only way.
It is indeed. So thank you for answering a couple of questions for us there. But we do, of course, have the first episode of season 2 that we can share with everybody here. So it's going to be very exciting to see that. This is called Our Bodies and Are Our Gardens. And it's by Natalie Anson-Wright and co-written by Brad Holcomb. So can we get the episode up and share it with everybody?
Clothes. How is that hot to trot?
Hey, they don't want my clothes. They just want my body. Vogue will be knocking on the door for me any minute now.
If that's Vogue, tell them I'm ready.
Wow. Did someone send us a box of lead, or are you just that weak?
No, but I do hope it's new biceps.
Competition wristbands. Wear these for your training. These should help you move from 0 to hero.
I can be your hero, baby. I will prove that I've got game.
They will want me on the catwalk.
This challenge will take your breath away. I'm Cindy, an AI gaming assistant with superior intellect, perception and knowledge. I'm training a wildcard team of unconventional gamers for the greatest global gamer tournament. Every week I push them to overcome their profound failures, operating without compassion, frustration, tiredness or despair, which is just as well.
I think I just lodged a bargee.
You've been awarded Dad Dancing Champion status.
Yeah!
I knew it. I was born a champion.
You must improve your score by 3,000% to pass this challenge.
My killer moves on point.
Your 2 accuracy points were scored by Georgia.
Georgia? I was like Magic Mike.
Of course it was me. Calm and precise is how you win at life. Oh, that's going to go on my yoga retreat mood board.
Your next Disco Tornado challenge is in 3 hours. Improve your resting heart rate by then or...
Say no more. Instagram live boxing class. I'll get you fit and show the fashion school my fearsome bod. I'm busy.
You don't know what it is yet.
But I know I'm busy.
Complete a 45-minute training session to improve your above-average resting heart rate. Wii golf does not count.
As always, I'm well above average.
Oh no, the best athletes are below average, just like me.
Tony's resting heart rate is 82, which is poor.
This is perfect prep for my yoga business. I am meditating myself rich.
That's not a business plan. That's a 2-year-old's arse attack gone wrong.
If it keeps her out of trouble.
Stop it. Why don't you just join Tony? Burn the bolty belly.
Hey, everyone loves a dad bod. Anyway, I just completed a marathon.
Mario Kart marathons do not count. You can't even run to the newsagents.
Wanna race Princess Peach?
Race to lower heart rates? Sure.
Game on, yoga pants boring chance.
Your challenge has been set. You have 45 minutes. Andy, you go on my first whistle. Georgia, you stretch on my second. 3, 2, 1.
We got 0 points for style.
How does you know my heart rate?
I'm like a style guru. This is authentic tweed.
From Donkeys R Us.
exquisite equines, actually. It's vintage.
Prime money, in season and comfy.
Fashion before comfort, Tony.
You'd both be in better shape by worrying less about your looks.
I'll have you know, I have the finesse of a stallion.
And the cardio of a snail. Do you even ride, bruv?
I don't ride horses. I appreciate them.
I booked you a stallion riding class at the university stables in 1 hour. On a horse called Gary.
Wait, let's not be hasty. Did you just say Gary?
Off your gallop, mate.
What a run! 6 miles, 10 times around the cathedral, past their cyclist, and then got to the juice bar.
You've ruined my bird of paradise.
Anyway, I got a green one. Broccoli, spinach, sprouts, and beans. Yum.
Andy's location has not changed.
What? She must have secret cameras.
Maybe you should actually go for a run and then she won't catch you out.
You look like you lost a twister.
Get out! Shoot!
No. Wrong. Nothing says bad omen like the wrong Jodhpurs.
Mounting a pretend horse can help with pre-riding tension.
Me? Nervous? No, not on your Nelly. That's it, Monty. Go on. Get it up. I was looking for my riding hat. Yes.
Yo, dude and dudettes, it's your Fit Boy Tony. Boxing class at 4 PM. Sweat the small stuff and smash your heart rate. Peace out.
Fit Tony. You sound like a Z-list superhero.
What about you, Timothy Tight Pants?
I don't know what you're on about.
Onwards, noble steed.
Why is the fridge full of rabbit food?
Healthy inside equals healthy outside, meaning I win the bet.
Trees are for woodpeckers, not me. Where are my Vankeys? What's that?
Hidden? It's a mermaid pose.
Looks more like a demented rabbit.
Get out! Cindy, it's been 45 minutes, right?
Your session lasted 4 minutes 30 seconds. Your heart rate level is comatose dog.
Come on, shiny balls. Faster. Never mind trotting, I can canter.
Ta-da!
You look like the butt of an April Fool's joke.
It's wet. Look, tree juice.
Andy has a milkshake delivered by bicycle with added green food dye.
Yet again, why am I the one trying and you're behaving like a child?
Look, it's banana. It's got fruit in it. How does she know? She must have satellites everywhere. Look. Oh! I'm sorry. Georgia, I'll fix it. You're just hangry.
Run, Andy. Run.
My competition wristband. It's broken. How will Team Unicorn Sprinkle Truck go on without me?
Edmund, my sensors show that you are dead. That may improve your gaming.
Am I dead? But I had so much I hadn't accomplished yet. My Nobel Prize, my Ed Talks, my award-winning brony fashion line.
Dude, you're not dead. My Insta, it's been running. Fierce comments. Who's the horse clown? Rubbish fitness channel. Mate, you've ruined it. Fat chance I'll get into the fashion show now.
Well, at least you're not dead.
Does fixing this fix your mood.
Your resting heart rates have all increased significantly, except for Edmund, who is still dead.
What? These ain't wristbands. These are fitness trackers. You dirty data collector.
None of you completed your exercise or improved your heart rate.
Well, one wristband must be broken then.
Mine too. That's why she thought I hadn't gone running. You lose.
You didn't go running! We all lose!
This thing's like an emotional Rubik's Cube. Get the good mood back.
It is now time for round 2 of Disco Tornado Dance-a-thon.
Better?
Much better.
It's the fashion show director. They saw the stream, but they don't want me. They want you.
These babies win every time.
Your scores: 0 points for accuracy, 3 points for effort. And you broke the fashion algorithm, earning 57 points for style.
First place Rosette for dressage! Yay!
Oh, what? Vote retweeting my boxing class. Score!
Vote Catford, it's a start.
Now about these health trackers. Tracking our health without permission, Cindy. It's not cool. I know just what to do with these.
There we go. The first episode of the brand new series of A Comedy of Gamers, proving there that if you're probably just hangry or need better trousers, I think are the takeaways there. So hopefully you all enjoyed watching that episode as a sneak peek into the start of the new series. And we have with us as well some of the creative minds behind what you have just watched. Welcome along. Please introduce here Matt Harris, who is a showrunner, and we have Natalie and Brad as well, who are the writers and directors of the show. I'm going to start off with Brad as well. Now I'm going to ask you a little bit about what it's like to write a series like this.
Well, I mean, the main thing I write is, or have written, is sketches. So writing something like this is quite a big difference, really. I mean, the characters are already made, the world is created, you know, there's a certain tone to it. Whereas when I write, it, you know, it just swirls around in my head until, you know, I figure something out, and you know, I just try and make it funny, and that's it. But however different it is, it really works when writing something like this, because it's basically one big sketch, and I saw every scene as little sketches. So, you know, you try and work as much comedy and as much into each scene as you can, and then create that.
Yeah, I think especially with the sort of British sitcom style, it is effectively like a long series of different sketches and different jokes, some of them very short, punchy, some of them that will go for a whole episode. I'm thinking of, you know, sort of big obvious great sitcoms that we have in the UK, like Red Dwarf and Blackadder and things like that. They're a series of smaller sketches, as you say. Was it fun taking on somebody else's characters rather than writing ones for yourself? Was it a good new challenge?
It was definitely a challenge. I mean, you know, I had to watch series one over and over to try and get to grips with, you know, how they work, how they are, and everything else, and then trying to work my humour into that tone, you know, so the tone of the show, and then, you know, it is a big challenge, but it was a brilliant one. It was really good.
Was it your idea to call the horse Greg?
I can't remember. I don't think it was. I think that was Nat, to be fair.
That was me. Yeah, Gary the horse. Yeah,
Gary the horse. That's the one. Yeah, anything like that always gets a laugh out of me. That kind of unexpected turn that you add into it.
I actually was inspired by some kids that I used to teach, and I'd asked them. We were playing a game, and they were naming camels actually, and they'd come. They had the sparkle saw Princess Swan, the sparkly disco ball, and then just one kid went Gary, and I just thought that was the funniest name for a camel.
I think so. I think I've got the perfect example of animal naming I think I've ever heard of. Is one of my friends has got 2 kids, and they've got 2 cats. They got a cat each for Christmas one year after asking for several years. One cat's called Ella. The other cat is called Queenie Beanie McMuffin. So it's very telling, I think, the naming of animals. So I will remember that you are indeed the best person to name horses, but as well as naming horses, I'd like to ask you a question slightly more sort of related to the directing. How does directing an episode you've written compare to directing one that's been written by somebody else?
There's different levels of pressure from different places, I think. For me, there was that pressure of I want people to laugh as I'm doing it, when it was my episode, and thinking, I hope this is funny. I hope these jokes land. I hope that the cast find them funny as they're doing them as well. So there's that pressure of really worrying that every joke is landing and feeling that pressure. Whereas with other people's episodes, directing theirs, it's thinking, I really want this to be good for them. And there's also that added thing of sometimes, of course, I know exactly what my jokes are supposed to be and how they're supposed to go and how they're supposed to land, because it's my humor. But if it's someone else's humor, which is a bit different to mine, then it's making sure that I've got that the actors have got that everybody understands how that is supposed to land and be and how that story, that journey is supposed to be told.
Yeah, it sounds like it was a fun and interesting challenge, but if the first episode is anything to go by, then the two of you make an excellent writing and directing team, because the flow of that felt really, really good. I could see that everyone involved was having a good time with it. I'd be interested to know, there are lots of good outtakes from this series?
Probably, yes. I'm sure a lot.
Some kind of compilation will need to be added to the YouTube channel afterwards, I suspect,
Yeah.
because there's so many bits in that episode alone where I would have been cracking up if I'd been on the set.
Exactly. I think there was a lot of that. And I think for me, it's if we're having fun, then for sure the audience is going to have fun. And I think that's the main thing. And if you can see that the actors are having a great time, then you can't help but not have a good time watching it. So yeah, and certainly some of the physical action we just had so much fun putting together. There's another episode with some other food-based fun as well. So we've got all of those outtakes to come as well. So yeah, there was just so much physical fun. And on top of that, I also had just but just got a dog. So I had a puppy on set as well. So I'm sure there's a couple of takes where there's just this little woof in the background. Oh, I can't use that one.
But we forgive floofs for everything, because
exactly.
puppies, they make the world better. Kittens and puppies
100%.
Make the world better. Absolutely. So I will
Um,
look out for all of those outtakes, hopefully with just a small dog running across the screen. I'm interested to ask Matt some questions as well, as the showrunner for this. Can you tell us a little bit about, for people in the audience who don't necessarily know, because I think writer, director, I think people probably know pretty much what those guys do. Could you tell us a bit about what you do and how you got involved in the project?
So it was setting up a whole creative process for the team to come into, really. As showrunner, I reached out through a group called the Comedy Crowd, and that's how I connected with Nat and Brad and a load of other writers. And we got started, I think, during lockdown on some video calls together, just making up ideas for stories, and that turned into script writing. And I think as showrunner, you really have to be a completer finisher. You have to be able to just take things from idea stage and push every step of the way. So now we need a script. Now it needs to be 10 minutes long. Needs to tell a story. Now we need to act it. We need a cameraman. We need someone to do sound for us. We need a set. We need a venue. All the way into the edit process. I think we've got a couple of the editors watching with us at the moment, and out the other side now to distribution, and Bex making contact with you and saying, we've got this thing, we really want to do it justice for a launch, and we think you'd be a great fit for it. Will you come with us? So yeah, it's about doing a little bit of everything and enjoying it, and I've just loved all the different people who've come in, whether they've been part of the team or part of that wider sort of gaming and comedy community that have really pulled around us and supported us.
Yeah, it's a really cool premise that you've used as having this AI interacting with different sets of people as a way of filming across different locations, and an interesting way of drawing that narrative together. I'm curious to everyone in general, but I can direct it at one person in particular if they'd like, what the difference has been like sort of writing, directing, show running something with these characters in these set sort of different locations, as opposed to having everyone in a studio at the same time together. I'll start with Nat.
Yeah, sure. So, as in the two different locations, or the three different locations, obviously the computer, the university, and the shop. Okay, so yeah, it makes it very challenging in some ways, because it's a lot harder to have the characters just bouncing off each other all the time. So there's that, particularly for the actors, where they're not necessarily being able to straight away bounce off each other, because we're having to be on location in one place with just those actors, and then on location in another place with just the other actors, which makes that quite tricky in some ways. But then there's also the added thing that they can play a bit more with what they're doing, and it means that in the edit we can play as well and throw things around and go, oh, actually, could we slip maybe that bit there and then that bit there, and have this reaction shot here and this reaction shot there, that we might not necessarily have be able to do if we were just in one studio. So that's unless we had hundreds of cameras all pointing at every actor all the time. So it has its negatives and its positives. But I think that's the biggest challenge, where the actors are having to play off, balls on the end of a stick kind of thing. I was reading some of the lines that they were having to react to. And react, so act to and react towards as well. So sometimes that can be quite tricky.
Yeah, it's definitely a really fun format, and from a writing perspective for Brad, I'm assuming as well that gives you a lot of opportunities to do a lot of jokes that have that kind of repetition, where you flip or see the same thing happening in multiple places, or an opposite situation happening as kind of a contrast. Was that quite fun to write for?
Yeah, it was, and like you said, you just play about with it, and you can have like the same thing happening in two spaces, and it just works. It's challenging, but you can come up with some really good stuff.
Yeah, I enjoyed seeing all the different levels of fitnesses and slightly concerning heart rates on some of the characters at times. That was a great visual way of tying them all together when they were in different locations as well. So that was really, really nicely done. From a show running perspective, does it make it easier or more difficult if you've got your actors all separated in different locations?
So we were really lucky this time, compared with the way we shot the first season. We used the same place for the bedroom and the shop. We had one day when the cast overlapped with each other, and we could mix them up between those locations. And at lunchtime, on that sort of midpoint, we took down one set, put up the other set, and sort of switched into the bedroom and filmed there. And I thought it was really great to have, certainly the four of them. Unfortunately, we couldn't get Orla in to be Cindy at the same time, but to have all four of them kind of mixing it up and being their characters in an unconventional situation. I think we've got those episodes to come later in the series. So yeah, I think the more connection you can make, the better, really, and that was a great way that we could do that this time.
Yeah, I didn't realize you're actually taking down one set and putting another set up. They look, I mean, for one thing, the shop set looks like it would take a very long time to set up and take down, but they look very much like two different locations. So yeah, it hadn't occurred to me at all that they are actually in the same place.
That is the magic of indie filmmaking right there. They are, in fact, exactly the same sets of shelves in the bedroom as they are in the shop.
There we go.
There we go. I've spoiled our secret there.
We've given all the secrets away. Have we ruined the magic, or have we just added to it at this point? Yeah, you'll have to let us know in the comments in YouTube if you realise they are in the same place, or that was indeed the same set of shelves, because I assume they were two completely different places and that you were splicing those together. So I'd like to know, as a closing question for all of you, do you have a favourite moment from season 2 that people should be looking out for as these start to air on YouTube? I'll start with Brad.
Well, I'm gonna self-indulge really. Episode 3, the whole of episode 3 is one that I'm quite proud of. So yeah, when you get to episode 3.
Yes. Particular work of writing genius there, Brad.
Okay, you're not giving anything away. There's no spoilers going on here. Okay, so just watch out in general for episode 3. You're saying?
Yeah, well, it's based on stuff I like, Inside Number 9, things like that, which is it takes you one way and then kind of takes you another way, but still keeping in with the tone of the show. So hopefully that comes across. Now that I've said this live.
Yeah, no pressure, but we will be watching episode 3 with bated breath. Nat, is there a favourite little point, or small moment or big moment in the show that you think is particularly stand out that you enjoy?
To be honest, I love all the physical comedy that comes out in it. There's a lot to come as well as this episode. There's loads coming up. I think also there's some really lovely little cameo moments as well that come up in one of the later episodes. I can't remember which episode is it. Which one is it, Matt?
I think that is episher 3. It's Brad's. We're giving a big plug for that one.
3, yeah. So there's a few little cameo moments of other little slingshots of moments with other little people coming in into it as well, which is really nice as well. So yeah, I think that's something to look out for. I'm trying to think what else. There's just so much wonderful physical stuff that's coming up, and also there's a little bit of chopping and changing as well, where maybe we might have different characters in different locations as well.
So effectively you're saying you like to watch people falling off stuff, ideally into a different location.
100%. If I can laugh at them, I'm loving it.
Excellent. Matt, is there any little standout points, be it a small touch or a plot point that you think is particularly fun?
So I think things falling over, things breaking, that's always great. We try and do as much of that as we can within sort of safe limits. I think though that the show has heart, and these characters rub along in a funny way together, but ultimately they're there for each other. And I think we've got a really nice big finish coming up. So I'd say watch to the end, because the way they sort of pull through their final challenge is one that I'm really proud of as the sort of crowning moment in this series.
Excellent. I was quite worried with the some of the falling over moments in that episode alone, and also pouring the water over the head after the run with all of those expensive games behind. I was like, that was a brave. Was there loads of plastic there that I just couldn't see?
I think we use perspective a little bit, like when you're sort of filming hobbits and people together, so that everything with all the retro stuff was really very safe.
Excellent. That's one of my most important questions here, is just to make sure that those Mega Drive games were indeed safe on those shelves. So strong and bold decision to pour water near a collection like that. So definitely incredibly brave. And it looks like there's a lot of exciting stuff coming up with this series, as we would expect. Exploring those character arcs, taking their stories forward. Will they survive? Will they not? I mean, already maybe one of them may be dead, so we don't know if they'll will live to another series. So you're definitely going to want to check out all of these episodes. I want to say thank you to all of the cast and the crew for joining me. Can we get a typed round of applause, please, in the chat here to say thank you for everybody for all of their hard work on this series. And I'm very much looking forward to seeing all of the new episodes. The first episode will be available to watch on YouTube later this evening, and future episodes are going to launch every week, Monday evenings at 7 p.m. So do, if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel, check out the episodes, and if this has wet your whistle for the series and you haven't seen the first series, quick, catch up on it now, because there's more good stuff to come. Thank you so much everyone for joining us, and we will see you on the next episode. Bye!